Okay, so shoes are definitely a design choice when talking about pleasure of violence and, well, pleasure, if you know what I mean. And I guess to start off, I have to say that Roseate Desire is way better than Sanguine Desire. And I'm not talking on abnormalities, by the way. I do mean the ego. What can you talk about the shoes themselves? Like, the fuck? But seriously, Sanguine Desire is cool, I guess, and makes yanderis, potentially. And I do love some yanderis in anime, but there's just something about Roseate Desire with bondage ribbons binding people up that just makes me go... This one's going to be a horny episode, huh? Well, whatever. Anyways, yeah, hi, what up? Ignoring everything that I just talked about a few seconds ago, welcome to, or welcome back to the now officially named Abnormality Room. Yes, I finally found a name for the series, where I talk about anything related to the abnormalities, whether that's design, lore, theories, whatever it may be. And in this video, we're talking about the red shoes and the better equivalent, pink shoes. Yes, I'll stand by that fact. You cannot change my mind. Now, from a glance, they seem to be very normal and have nothing special in them. But when you put them on, then they instantly make a person's emotions and inner desires amplified up to an 11. So yeah, let's not waste too much time and begin. The Red Shoes appears in all 3 games, as an abnormality, book, and ego, and its origins are based off of its original source, the Red Shoes, which is a Danish fairy tale about a girl who is forced to dance by her red shoes. The girl, Karen, loved the shoes so much that she would bring them everywhere, such as church. But her adoptive mother tells her that it is incredibly improper and that she should wear black shoes to church instead. But Karen is unable to stop wearing them and starts dancing after a soldier praised them, saying that it can be used to dance. So the shoes take massive control over Karen, forcing her to dance whenever they wanted, even after her adoptive mother's death. That is, until an angel appears and condemns her. Karen begs for mercy, but the shoes take over and run away. When she was able to take control of her feet again, Karen was able to find an executioner and told him to chop off her feet. Hence where the quote comes from. The girl begged in tears, "Mister, please cut off my feet." And the executioner does just that. He chops off her feet. And the red shoes continue to dance, even without the legs attached to the body. As a result, Karen gets wooden feet as a replacement, and after some contemplation, she tries to go to church. But the red shoes barred away multiple times, until the angel sends her to heaven by bursting her heart with peace and joy. Now, tell me if that's not weird, right? Like having an angel murder you with peace? I doubt it's inaccurate, but anyways, moving on. It's definitely not the actual origins, since firstly, it's an abnormality, and secondly, it's here as a source of where the red shoes in Lobotomy Corporation comes from. And there are some differences to what the red shoes in Lobotomy does compared to what it does in the fairy tale. And to show that, I have another similar and shorter story to talk about that happens one day in Alcor. This tale is about 2 employees, one of which was F4002. Who is both a victim and the instigator to what happened that one day. An employee, which we'll call Jared, has just completed their work on Scorch Girl, and F4002, who we'll call Sasha for simplicity, and that I don't have to repeat a bunch of numbers, has also completed their work, and both of them were about to go grab some coffee at the lounge. But Jared has noticed that Sasha is wearing different footwear, which are not appropriate for work. But that doesn't matter, since Sasha confesses to loving Jared, but is concerned why he won't love her back. Jared noticed that she has an axe, and figures out that the abnormality she worked with, the red shoes, she put them on. He begs Sasha to take them off, but she's now rambling about another employee named Emily, and she assumes that he loves her, and so, with axe in hand, she runs off and leaves Jared, but he catches up and stuns her with his weapon, and after 23 whole minutes, with other people trying to suppress F4002, she has finally been dealt with and died from the excessive blood loss caused by her ankle-biting shoes, and I guess from fighting the other employees. One of which was employee F1230, who fell unconscious from the shock of it all and tried to pretend to be dead, and F3054, who I assumed to be Emily, since the employee was mentioned to be a she, and also Emily was injured. But then again, it could be just another random and experienced employee who cut off F4002's feet off and tried to remove the shoes, who were biting at the ankles, which I'd say is kinda rad. But there are differences between the 2 tales. In the Red Shoes fairy tale, the Red Shoes kind of just forced themselves onto Karen's feet and did what they wanted to do, as if it had a consciousness of its own. From what I read, at least. Whilst the Red Shoes and Lobotomy Corporation are amplifiers with teeth. They amplify the desires of others they want, even limiting the pain of the biting. Well, the Red Shoes in the fairy tale also does that, but to a more discreet effect. Now, despite that, the Red Shoes of the Lobotomy Corporation does have a consciousness. Kind of. It calls out to people to amplify these desires to the point of murder. And speaking of murder, the Red Shoes in the fairy tale does not have anything to do with murder, but instead dancing. Even if the legs that are connected to the shoes are cut off, they still keep on dancing, which cutting off feet is definitely a major theme for both of these. Now, my point is, if you know anything about abnormalities, then you should know how Elcor categorizes these abnormalities. F, T, O, D, and M. Red Shoes is categorized as O, meaning that it is an original abnormality. But if you paid attention to everything that I said previously, if not, then how dare you? I mentioned the fairy tale multiple times. So why is it an O abnormality and not an F abnormality? Well, maybe it's because of those differences. Like there's no mention of an angel, or dancing, other than that one thing, or teeth. So, yeah. Now, there may be other reasons as to why it's an O abnormality and not an F abnormality, but those are just the most likely ones, I'd say. Oh, and since I mentioned it, here are the categorizations of the abnormalities that I have talked about myself. Keep in mind that some of these are Limbus Company categorizations, so once the new interval comes out, hopefully some things about Limbus Company will be revealed, since we still know very little about the company that we work for. So yeah, that's cool. In the library, there were just feet, shoes, and axes, and that was cool. And in Limbus, Roseate has this Sanguine Desire ego, which was useless for a good few months, until Dulcinea Roseate came, and that was nice. Anyways, let's move on to the better version of the shoe abnormality. Pink shoes, pink shoes, pink shoes. Holy hell, where do I begin? I talked a bit about the basics at the beginning of the video, so might as well just say it for the third time. Pink shoes are so much better than red shoes, and it's not even close. And no, it's not just because I find this fucking hot. Design-wise, the pink shoes is pretty fucking rad, but mechanically and lore-wise, yeah, it's bad. First of all, there's pretty much no lore to it, other than the fact that when the facility was destroyed, Pink Shoes spread its ribbons all over, possessing employees on a machine, and amplifying their desires to a more worrying degree, back in Kanto 2. I'd even bet that you don't remember that fight because of how meh Kanto 2 was in the first place. No hate to this Kanto, by the way. It has a lot of hilarious moments. And the fight itself isn't even that complicated. You fight some of the long-dead employees and a robot with simple moves that give you the urge. Essentially, pink shoes are just red shoes if you didn't want to kill anyone, which in this case makes it seem that red shoes is more badass than it actually is, but it isn't if you look at the other side of things, if you get my point. But whatever. In short, why the fuck do those shoes not have more shit on them? I know that there was some unused Choice Mirror dungeon event from what I heard, but still, pretty disappointing in general. But what is not disappointing is all the ego. Let's move on to that and end this already. Maybe. There are only 3 ego for the 2 shoes. Well, technically 6, but whatever. There are 2 Roseate Desire egos, one for Ishmael and one for Hanlu, and 1 Sanguine Desire ego for Rojin. So, Rojin, I could be hilarious and say that the reason why she has the Sanguine Desire is because of how much of a jealous person she is compared to the Roseate Desire egos, but after thinking about that, with the lines of, I must be the only one to dance this beautiful dance, I may not be too far off from that with the whole jealousy thing, until violence takes over her when she corrodes, and holy fuck, that thing is fucking freaky. But yeah, Sanguine Desire is very edgy, and I like it. As for Roseate Desire, yeah, that has the potential to be some of the most hottest looking ego if it was made right. Like, Hanlu and Ishmael, they're fine. But imagine it on fucking Faust. The potential that you can have with this ego on other characters are insane. But no, in Project Moon, I doubt it. But it would be cool if they bring it back, like how they did with the creepy nail bear. But back to Roseate Desire. Ishmael having it is very obvious. Its whole thing is desires, or I guess specifically pleasure. So Ishmael just has it for fun. Hanlu, on the other hand, is kind of interesting. Because to me at least, nothing really tells me that Hanlu has some hidden desire that the Pink Shoes wants to show and bind him in. Or he's just really good at hiding it, since he's been very open with what he means. Maybe it has something to do with his family, since he does comment on it when talking about the Pink Shoes possessee and enchantee. But either way, yeah, Sanguine Desire fucking blows. Roseate Desire has a lot of potential, and shoes being something that enhances desires leading to either lust or violence is kind of a unique idea. Oh, and fuck Penitent Girl. Who cares about her? Subscribe. I'm out.